Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Dexter New Blood review series. I am Deb's Laughing, or Deb's Laughter, whatever you want to say, Trash Snell, and I'm joined by...
The great outdoorsman, Kirklin.
I'm Storm Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't guessed by the nicknames or the title of this episode, I already said what we're doing. We're talking about Dexter. It's the new season. Obviously, we did last week. For everybody that listened to that, big thank you, because that's one of our biggest reviews of the year. It's number 3 currently right now, which is pretty impressive, passing things like Dune and Shang-Chi and stuff like that. So very impressive. So thank you very much for the people that tuned into that. Taylor Field, where can they find us? Because this upcoming week, we got a busy week. We got some big stuff happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. Be sure to check us out on the Facebook because there will be a Christmas fan base community poll that will be popping up there very, very shortly. You can also find more stuff on our Patreon. And I'm going to shout the Patreon because I always feel like I should pass it to Travis, but he's doing the plugs or the links. So check us out on our Patreon because you can get ad-free, early, exclusive episodes on there. It's a great time. You know, you get your shell a little bit of money and you get shelled back a lot of content. So
Yeah, or listen to Kirklin. You don't have to subscribe. You don't gotta subscribe. Don't worry about it. But
You don't have to. Give them the option.
No, you have to. Sorry if you don't. Not a true fan. No, we appreciate everyone who listens, whether you watch on YouTube, listen. But yes, Patreon is the best way and the best place to listen. Like Taylor just said, bunch of perks there. After 9, you can get a bunch of retros. The Hobbit retros up there early. Harry Potter retros up there early, like all those films. So lots of good stuff there. And as always, the more you support us, the more content you get. And because of things like that, you guys get to make it so we can record more. And we're going to be carving out time next weekend. But next weekend, patrons will get early, but comic virgins will be back in honor of Hawkeye. We're doing the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run, the first 10 issues. So it's the first 2 arcs. So it's going to be fun. I haven't cracked that open. I've read it before, but I haven't cracked it open on Marvel Unlimited. So I gotta get to some reading, but very excited because Hawkeye's coming up, and then later this week. So for live on Tuesday, 5 p.m. PST, there is a Spider-Man No Way Home trailer launch that's happening in LA. Now, obviously, we don't get to see the trailer launch, stuff like that, but the idea is, okay, they're going to show this to a bunch of fans, and then it's going to go online. So kind of like we did for that first trailer, we're going to have Marvel Alliance crossover with it as well, and we're going to wait for that trailer, and we're going to have a good time. You just kind of mess around, but when that trailer comes, it could be something juicy. So that's going to be Tuesday live. We'll be watching that, and then the podcast will be on the Wednesday. There'll be another newscast. I feel like I'm missing something. There's something that we are doing. That's why, like Tara said, we'll watch our Twitter and Facebook. There's something we are doing later this week that I cannot announce yet. I'll leave it up to that person, but it's going to be a fun time. I think you'll want to check it out. And I think that's everything. Hawkeye starts next week. Taylor's reviewing Chucky every week. You know, I saw what did happen in the latest episode, but it did make me want to start watching. So I think I'm going to start that up this week because I was pretty impressed with what they did. So check out Taylor's reviews. He's watched that. Maybe I'll pop in for the finale if I get there. But
yes.
But so speaking of shows and being back and good stuff going on, Kirk and Patzer, what do you think episode 2? Because all last week was the big setup to Jim Lindsay and see what he's up to. But now, again, this is spoilers for everything. He had seen his first life, but he also met Harrison. So how did you feel about the what do they call the sophomore episode of season 9?
What was it called? The Storm of Fuck or something like that?
Storm of Fuck. Now, wait a second. So this is minor spoilers. So the episode's called Storm of Fuck, and there's one point in the show where there's a wind, like a mirror or whatever. Mirror is like fogged over, and it spells Storm of Fuck. The last episode was called Cold Snap. Was that anywhere?
It was. It was like when he was driving into the town, it was on the bridge, and then it was like snow, and then as he drove over it, it like disappeared. I kind of like the theme. I like the theme they're going with, keeping the title somewhere in there. So this episode, I might get flogged here because I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but it just completely answered the question that we were posing last week, like really early on in this episode. And right away, I'm like, man, I felt so stupid just like theorizing over these things. But I guess that's bound to happen on a show.
We'll
like
get
this,
into
right?
it because you were the one that was on the bandwagon of one route. And I think me and Taylor kind of talked you off that route. But there's precedent in the show for that thing being a thing. So
yeah, but like I just laughed at myself because it happened quite early on in this episode. I won't say what happened because of spoilers and all that, but yeah, for the sophomore episode, like Travis was mentioning, I really like this episode. I think there was some creepy things that were shown that weren't really touched upon in the first episode that got me pretty excited to be back into like the Dexter route. Like I think the first episode was such a good like pilot episode for this new blood show for Dexter, but this one is just building upon that and really just peeling back some layers of like, oh yeah, I forgot how like dark and like creepy the show can be. There is still like quite a bit of humor in this. Again, it's that same deadpan humor that we've been seeing in Dexter that I thought was really good, whether it was from the first show. I'm just gonna call them two different shows because it's like a rebirth, right? Yeah, so I really like the humor in it. There was a little bit more like shown with the characters that were revealed in the first episode, specifically the supporting cast. And I just really liked what was introduced in this episode, whether it's dynamics between Dexter and another side character or just like side characters interacting within themselves. I really liked what was shown in this episode, and it's got me wanting more. So that's really, I think, what they need to be doing in these early episodes, and they're doing that well. So yeah, I'm excited for next week's, obviously, and to deep dive into some spoilery talk. But that's all I'll say for now.
Well, yeah, you always want to be left wanting more, like that's that's kind of why we're here.
Like have the second episode and be like, yeah, that's a good conclusion to the series. I don't need to come back next week.
I'll come back at episode 10. See you later, But yeah, no, I feel the same way as far as this episode to me. Like last week was the setup, and this is like a lot of answers. And I feel like we're gonna get into a lot. And when I say action heavy, just more the like mystery and the big bads and stuff going forward. But I feel like this thing did show me one thing, which is not a bad thing. But I think a lot of the show is gonna be a slow burn because I feel like we learned a lot in this episode, but there's still so much. There's still so much to learn for many characters about them or for who are you kidding you? Like Dexter to reveal the certain characters, and that's what's very because I just want all dumped now. I just want like everything out. I want all on the floor, but it's like okay, we're gonna take our time, and yeah, we're getting to know the town more, we're getting to know more of the characters more. This is kind of the very first semblance. Like last week, we had a lot of theories, like oh, this could be the big bad. This is we're getting that kind of very much formed. Like I feel like it's almost formed right away. If you're paying attention, you know exactly what's happening, which is not a bad thing. We only got 8 episodes left after that, and this is hopefully going to be the right close of the finale. But yeah, it's I'm very interested to see just how it all ends up. And I'm not sure if you're talking about the same things I am, Kirklin, but there's a lot of things aesthetically they're doing with a certain character that I really like because we've seen, like minor spoiler, the ghost aspect of Dexter before with different characters used. And it's kind of always par for the course. It's what he feels about their character and their personality. But the way they are using, I'll just say Deborah because she's the ghost, I'm really enjoying and I'm very much liking because there's just some things I used as even the old show as like a complaint and they're like turning on its head and using it as like a plot line. And that's the best when it's called, oh, okay. Like, even though sometimes it's actually a mistake, it's like, oh, you're making this seem like this is part of your writing and this is good. So yeah, it's very, especially even just the last frame of this episode leaves us in a very intriguing place. And I guess maybe we didn't say enough last week. And I'll say this too. It's just, Michael C. Hall is just so good. Like I think it's one of those, it's kind of like when we get our superhero shows and movies and we stop talking about the lead because it's like they're just around so much. But there's many times like he's playing the Dexter type of role, but obviously you'd see last week there's a big reveal and there's lots of info talked about. And just the way he plays, like very nervous and hurt and just very like out of his skin sort of way is really good because there's flashes of the old Dexter, but this still feels like a new character, not Jim Lindsay, but just in the way of like, he's been through a lot of stuff and he's completely tried to change his mindset. And I think Michael C. Hall just plays that so well. And he's just so effortless. And there's a few examples I'll give, but no, I think this was another good episode. And I think we're still on the right track. And I'm still interested. I'm very interested to see just the more reveals that are going to happen. So Taylor Field, are you with us on this one?
I would definitely say I am. I think this episode was It was great. It obviously really picked up for me, at least, as opposed to the story in the previous episode. And it just has a lot more questions that were answered, while obviously furthering the development of other parallel stories that we kind of knew were coming, and we're kind of like really getting into now. And it's like setting up questions and everything. So I'm excited to see where those things are going to go. There's a really interesting parallel plot line now that they've really showcased, and now we can kind of like connect the dots, like, okay, this person is directly attached to these events that are unfolding, and now that's going to obviously cross paths with Dexter in this scenario. So it'll be very interesting to discuss that in this episode. So
well, there we go. If you've not seen this episode, we're about to get into spoilers, so we'll take our first ad break, and then after that we're going to talk about Dexter and some good times at Iron Lake, I guess. This nice made-up city. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So let's start with what you were talking about, Kirklin, because obviously that was like the elephant in the room, right? Was Harrison. So last week we had talked about, because he popped up, and yeah, Kirklin was like, oh yeah, he's back. It's very interesting. And me and Taylor were both like, well, I don't know, because again, we've had multiple ghosts that Dexter talked to. We had an entire season where one of the villains was not actually there. He was a ghost, and it was like this big plot twist and stuff. So it's like the show had done that. And it's funny because the reason for, well, there's two things. One, last week, obviously he didn't interact with anyone but Dexter, even at the bus stop, like we said. It's like, and I wonder if they did that on purpose for a week just to make us kind of theorize. But even at that bus stop, it's like no one acknowledges this guy. And there's all this evidence. And yeah, he starts to meet people. But my whole thing was, I don't understand why Harrison would be there at all, because Dexter died, right? There's no reasoning for him to believe or be searching for Dexter Morgan, because that's a dead man on a boat. Well, it's not retconning, but it is adding some layers to something that didn't happen, because I know you guys didn't rewatch the series, but this didn't happen. This whole aspect of him leaving a note to Hannah, or sending Hannah a note, that was not in the original show. He just went off to a fucking boat and died. So to me now, again, thank goodness I trust these writers, and I think this is a good reason. Oh, now, and obviously we got revealed the second he shook Angela's hand. We're like, oh, it was like, we kind of saw this earlier this week, but once that full episode got going, it was a nice sigh of relief. But once I was like, okay, again, why did he start looking for him? They cover, they're like, hey, no, Dexter faked his death, but he told Hannah, he said, hey, I can't be around him. I worry for him. But if, we'll get into the specifics, but either way, it set up that he was alive. And right away you go, okay, now this makes a lot of sense. And yeah, Harrison is not a ghost. And I'm very happy. I was always went back and forth of like, did this season need Harrison? Could it be cheesy? Like I know there's some storyline there, but it's like, I don't want the show to get bogged down. But I think the way they're going about it is great. And I like that, again, if they were going to introduce Harrison in the show, I would rather him actually be there than the ghost aspect, which I did not want, because we've seen that done before. And it would just, all the scene from last week and all these scenes we get this episode, they'd feel empty, because it's just Dexter talking to himself. It's not actually talking to a character. So Kirkland, you can go, because you were the one that brought it up in the non-spoilers.
Yeah, I was just laughing at myself because entering the review for last episode, I'm like, oh, he's there, and you guys like pitch me this theory, completely won me over. I'm like, oh, I'm 100% convinced he's not real now. And then right at the beginning of this episode, it's confirmed that he is actually there. And
I'm Jin Sun.
Yeah, just like the whole circle that I went on, which is, I kind of laughed at myself, but I completely agree with you, Travis. I think for the health of the show, it's very good that he's actually there, because I think there's some fun in like wondering if he's insane and just talking to himself, but it would have been extremely hard from like a movie making standpoint of like making it believable, sort of, but also you have to write it that he is actually talking to himself, and I feel like it would be nearly an impossible task to do. So definitely agree with you. It's so much better that he is real, especially just interacting with side characters and stuff like that. Like if he wasn't real, you would have had to do some really artistic ways of shooting, of like a side character talking to someone that's like not
Angela's
him.
daughter, where Dexter's not even around, and that's why we said this last week too, where I don't think they're gonna do this, but if they also did some twist down the line, like, oh yeah, that kid's not real, and Dexter just made that all up, that might be even worse than the lumberjack thing, because it's just like, man, like that'd be such a waste of time. But I don't think we're going that route. I think we're going the route of this is his son, he's tracked him down, and they made sense that he found out that his dad is alive, so right away he's a guy like you. Not a, like we don't know much about Harrison, but I just imagine. I think any of us, if we found out our dad had faked his death, you'd want to at least try to look and like maybe wonder like what was the point of all this. And
serial killer, you just know.
Well, no, but they did a good reason though, because even then you could say the case of like, and I have personal experience with this, but someone might go, nah, fuck that guy, fuck my father, he left me. But with the fact that note saying, if he ever shows dark tendencies, let me know, that gives him even actual reason, even if he doesn't want to reunite with his dad, just to be like, hey, what is wrong with me? And we had that conversation. So they wrote it in a way where in this world, in the serial killer Dexter, higher fantasy type of world, that it made sense to me. And I was like, okay, this is all tracking for why this character would want to be here and such.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like the explanation of him getting there, it's believable enough of him, like you said, like Hannah passed away, and then he just wanted to know more. And I just love the usage of Harrison actually, like in this episode, because he just feels like a flashback to like Dexter Morgan and like that life. Like this is like the one thing that's really tying Jim Lindsay Dexter back to his old life. And in every time that he's either on screen with like Dexter, Harrison, Angela, is that the cop's name?
Angela, yeah.
So like anytime that like it's the three of them or something, I'm just like impending doom. Like what's he gonna say that just completely fucks him up here? And I think that, and like they are using the character in that way, so I think it's just really creative, and it makes it suspenseful, because like I feel like some of the best points of the old Dexter show is those like really impending doom moments, like when like
he could be caught at any
what's
second.
His name? Dokes? Dokes.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah, so like moments like that's where it's like, holy fuck. And I got one like multiple in this episode, whether it was like the cops just pulling up to his cabin, like, holy shit, is this really happening right now? This is intense. And so personally, that's like some of my favorite stuff from the episode. And I think the character of Harrison is just bringing that by just being a tie to the old Dexter. So like, I feel like there's bound to be something that he says that'll just, I don't know, link to Dexter Morgan in one way, shape, or form.
All it takes is one name slip and it's over. Because she like even though like, and that's not offense to the character, I feel like she's not the smartest cop, but she's not had to deal with as much, because they talk about how the little crime there is there, right? So she might not be as in tune as maybe Dexter was in Miami, but she's still a cop, and there will come a moment where there will be a big enough slip up that I think will set her off and be like, hey, none of this really makes sense right now. It's just, oh, he's a private guy. But the second Harrison calls him Dexter, or he finds something, it's like, hey, what's this? So Taylor, how did you feel about our seemingly, I would say we're in the clear that Harrison he's a real boy, and he's there to reunite with his dad? And how do you feel about the character in general now?
I mean, unless everyone is imagining he's there, he's definitely safe bet that Harrison is a real person. I like how the actor is portraying Harrison. I like how the dynamic is unfolding. Harrison just kind of rolling with the story and just like, this is Lindsay, my dad or Mr. Lindsay, and he's my stepmom died. I'm here. I just came up. Like, he's just totally spinning the story really, really well. And I like how Dexter kind of has this moment of just kind of like glancing at him, just kind of thinking like, look at that eye creeping through between you guys.
So creepy.
Yeah. But he just has this great kind of, I don't want to say appreciation, but acknowledgement. So
and then
awesome.
Okay. Yeah, no, and then so we got lots of conversation. So I was happy they did this, just because I feel like it would have like added a wrinkle I didn't need. But I was like, Hannah, if Harrison's real, okay, we got that check. And if Hannah's real, like, or whatever, Hannah's in the show, to me is like, she needs to be in prison or she needs to be in dead. And when she said she was dead, I gasped. And Emily's like, this is what you wanted. I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted. But it's this thing of like, until it actually happens. And plus it's like, it hits you big because it's just like this is, and I think again that's what I was kind of talking about before in the non-spoilers. If Michael C. Hall sold that moment so well of finding out this woman had died, it was like, oh man, like it's so funny because it just shows he's like, I would have never thought you were alone. He thought like, because Hannah, she's not like Michael C. Hall, I think is about to be 50 or something, and I think Yvonne's younger than him. So it's like even in the world, it's like you're not expecting her to pass away when Harrison's still like 16, like still needing help, still needing support. So in his mind, it's like, well, he's gonna go off with Hannah. If she ever needs anything, she knows where to find me, but they'll live a life, they'll be better without me. And there you go. And then when he dies, it's like the same thing. They're not in love technically because they're not together, but he still loves her. And the reason he wasn't with Hannah is not because of, hey, we broke up. It's just, hey, I couldn't trust myself. So that scene was sold really well, and I like that it's answered. And like I said, I think that helps it, because if she was just out and about, you'd be like, well, where is she? And I do like the little touches of Harrison referring her as mom. It's heartbreaking because I feel like we have a big Rita conversation to come, because and this is what I saw in the non-spoilers of like, oh man, like I just want it all right now. Because when the kids were like, oh, how did your first mom die? And he didn't really have an answer. And it's this thing of like, does he fully know or does he not know at all? And there's going to come a time where he's going to ask about his first mom, and Dexter's going to have to start explaining. And I imagine that's whenever he asks that question is when we're going to get John Lithgow. Because I was talking about the Emily. I'm like, do we see him now? Because it's confirmed. It's not a spoiler. Everyone said that he is in the show as like a ghost-like figure. So I was like, oh, do you do it right when Harrison gets in? But it makes sense. They're almost holding that. So whenever they have that conversation about Rita, I feel like John Lithgow is going to be like kind of torturing or teasing Dexter in some sort of way. So I like that we got lots of answers about Harrison's life, Harrison and Dexter, but there's still like little wrinkles left, and that will maybe like make Harrison question Dexter more, or look down upon him, whatever it may be. I think there's lots to play with still.
Absolutely.
What I was gonna say, where do you guys want to go next?
Maybe the dynamic with the cop, because I was kind of talking a bit about her with the Harrison conversation. I loved just like her reaction to like seeing Harrison in that moment. Again, that was like right in that moment when I'm like, okay, everybody actually knows that this guy's real here.
Yeah.
Kind of chuckled to myself there, but I don't know, the coldness that she was showing towards Dexter in that moment of just like, oh, you got your secrets, eh? I don't know. I was hoping for an interaction like this some point in the show. I'm really glad it happened like this early on, because I think that's going to be something that kind of goes forward with the rest of the show, is just like the distrust possibly that is forming between the two, mostly from Dexter. I think he's got more to hide than she does, but who knows, maybe she's got some secrets too. But
yeah, like she tried to play off the she's like, oh, like my daughter's adopted, which is like,
yeah,
it is a secret, but it's not the same as like him never mentioning he has a son at all, or like a former wife or something that just passed or something.
There was a
like
lot that was just like revealed to her in that like short little snippet.
Yeah, and that little just setup of the camp scene and everything like that. And yeah, I like that her kind of just attitude towards him, because it wasn't like so over the top. It was just kind of like a little PO that, hey, like this, and especially not even that this is a thing. It's like, this is the way I find out. It's just this guy like, oh, hey, I'm his son. It's like, oh, that's a little weird.
Yeah, and I love the line too when again, this is Dexter just conversing with himself in his head, but he's like he's like happy that Angela is like buying into the narrative that he's been forming, like his fake story. And then she's shown that she's maybe a little bit more clever than the rest of the cops in the town, where she'll like figure something out more than what he wants. And again, like I'm just waiting for this moment when she like finds out something about him, because I think that's truly where we're going to be going with the character, where I don't know, I hope she makes it out. Part of me thinks that she won't, but also if I'm imagining the show is only going to be one season or something, maybe she's the one that like actually puts the nail in the coffin on Dexter or something like that. I don't know. I'm just trying to theory craft what the end fate is with this police chief. Because we've seen Dexter interact with a love interest of similar caliber, and unfortunately they haven't like ended well. I mean, that's like Deb's main rhetoric that she's like giving to Dexter in his mind, of like everyone that you interact with is just dying here. I don't know, do you think she's gonna make it out?
I kind of hope so, but the theme around Dexter is almost everybody dies. But I kind of hope. I think the trade off to me has to be like, well, not everyone dies this time because I think it's him that's gonna die. It's like,
you think she'll be the one that like catches him, like the.
It's tough because so far what I'm getting from this character, I don't think she would like execute him. Like I think she would bring him in still. I don't think she's gonna. So I feel like he might die in a sort of. Sure, like I don't know, because I honestly don't really like. I've said this before, and it sounds very similar to my pitch for the U ending. But I don't want Dexter to die. I want him to be arrested, and I want him to go to trial, and I want to know
you want a trial season, just like you.
That's what I said.
That's
No,
all he
I
wants.
I don't think you need a trial season. I think you just need. I want the characters from Miami back for an episode to find out, like, yeah, Dexter's this. But I think because we're so
you want the Seinfeld finale. That's what you want.
100%, but like in Seinfeld, it didn't work because it's like, why is this great comedy, overrated comedy, but why is this like huge comedy of the world ending on a trial? It's kind of but here's the difference though. With Seinfeld, lots of other people reason to hate that is because it was like a best of show where they just showed clips of the other seasons, right? I don't want that. I don't want them flashing back. But I think with us only having 8 episodes left, I just don't see it going in that trajectory. Like that would mean like in episode 9, he'd have to be like arrested and like expedited to Miami. And I don't think that's going to happen. And especially now too, I thought, well, Hannah's dead. So they're like slowly closing off chapters. And I was kind of surprised Harrison said he went back to Miami. And he didn't say he interacted with anyone there. I thought for sure we are gonna get a Batista like Easter egg there. Like, oh, I even went to Metro and I talked to like Batista, like just like something like or a sergeant there that spoke highly of I was trying to find out if he knew it. Like I thought we would. So we're talking about Miami stuff now, but I don't think it's in the cards. So I think Dexter will do like a self-sacrifice type of play. And that's what I think is going to happen. So I think he's going to die. I don't think it will be by the hands of Angela. I really don't. What about you two? How do you think Angela's going to factor into Dexter's fine? Or maybe she also bites it, like maybe she's gone, but how do you think she factors into Dexter's end game?
I think how you put it, these people aren't going to die. I think Dexter's the one who will die.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do think that with her, for some odd reason, she gives me Deborah vibes. Actually, I think it's the way her hairstyle is. She gives me Deborah vibes. But
is that why Dexter picked her?
Yeah, maybe. I do think that when it comes to, even if they figured out, hey, you're Dexter, you're the Bay Harbor Butcher, all that jazz, like it wouldn't connect the dots. Like it'd just be like they'd learn if he goes after the serial killer, kills him, or gets caught doing anything, it's gonna look like, hey, it could be an act of self-defense, could be something. I feel like there will be some slight vindication, but it'll be interesting to see if they try and put his secret out. Like if he's on death's door now, he gets killed trying to save Angela from this horrible serial killer or whatnot, and then he just says a secret. Like is he gonna die keeping that all in? I don't think so. I think that at the end of the show, no one's gonna know his real secret except Harrison. I think Harrison's going to be the only one that learns of this. So
I was going to say, do any of you think there's no chance he makes it out alive, right, Dexter? Or like alive or free? Like there's no way he gets a happy.
There's no oceans, no boats nearby, so he's not able to sneak out this time.
Well, there's a moment when Harrison was sleeping. He like quietly closed the door, and I said to Em, like, imagine if he just ran again. Like he just started a whole new life. He's like, fuck, like he found me. But speaking of water, last week, he kills Matt, and he's thinking, well, where am I going to dump it? And he sees a poster of the fishing hole. And okay, he's using water once again. That apparently is not the case here. He has not used the water, and I'm wondering, was his final barrel, or did he mean to get into the water, but he did not have time? So that's why he is under the fire where they're roasting up burgers. All the cops are standing by.
Brilliant idea. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Very creepy, Taylor, but good job. But then, yeah, that's how the episode ended, was Clancy Brown coming in. We'll get to him just saying, like, you got to find my son. And they're like, oh, I'm sure he's out there somewhere. And then they start to pan down in the ground. And Dexter/Jim has a fireplace or a fire pit. And under there is where Matt's body's dug or been buried, all head and all. So I feel like that's not great. Like that's not like the water was definitely better, and we'll find out maybe why next episode. But that definitely is one of those things of like, if you're starting to see the breadcrumbs for him getting caught, that's definitely one of those, because that is a very bad situation for Matt's body to be in.
We saw like almost literal breadcrumbs right at the beginning, right, with the blood splatter. That was something that was showed at the end of the last episode. Taylor, like you wanted to chime in?
No,
there?
I was gonna just say exactly what you said.
Yeah,
Just fucking on point.
I
He's
absolutely
sloppy.
exactly. I love that they're showing that he hasn't killed anyone in 10 years, so he's obviously wouldn't be refined. Whereas if he was sticking to like a set, I wouldn't call it a schedule, just like a code, what he was doing, in when he was the Bay Harbor Butcher in Miami. I just love that they're actually showing that off, because I feel like it would have brought the show down a little bit if it was just like, oh, and I'm back in it. I'm never slipped up. I'm as I don't know, clean as I used to be with my techniques.
Did you like that tarp comment? Is that cop just reaming him out about the tarp for the wood?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I know people like that.
100%.
Like, business.
That moment when he was like, he had the tape and he was like he's doing like the scene, he's like, look out, coming through, and he's like yelling at the top of his lungs, and there's only like 4 people here. It's like, not that I want Dexter to kill that cop, but oh yeah, we all know people like that. But it is kind of crazy to think, like, obviously it might be different, because I feel like him killing Matt makes him become Dexter Morgan, makes him want to go find his son. But there's probably like a what if reality where he just doesn't kill Matt, but he still goes find his son, and things might have just worked out okay. Because right when Harrison gets back to his place, he's like, okay, I'm getting back to sticking to routine. Him and Deborah have that conversation of like, yeah, he can't live with Dexter Morgan, but he's like, Jim Lindsay is perfectly fine. And she's like, no, he's not. Like, look at you. Like, you are like, Jim is Dexter. Like, and you're fucking like, you're losing it right now. But like, I like that right away. He's like, okay, I could have Harrison in that lifestyle. But again, like Deborah kind of mentioned, it's like, you've killed, you got that bloodlust again. And like, that's why I absolutely love Deborah in this episode, when she's like, look how fucking smug you are. Like, you're smiling, you're getting away with this. It's like, you don't understand what you've done. And this is the best thing. I said this on my retro all the time, that they used it as like, it's called lamp shading of like a writing problem, but then you use it to make it seem like you did it. When Rita died, he took an oath and swore, okay, I'm going to always try and do things differently so I don't put anyone in danger. Now, because it went on for 4 more seasons, he did that multiple times, multiple characters, including Deb getting killed, right? So he was always a very hypocritical, and she called him, you're selfish, and that's what he is. He's just fucking selfish because he can't help himself, because whatever we want to say, like, we'll see how it ends, but Ghost Deborah's probably right that, of course he wants to connect with Harrison, but he probably still should let Harrison run, because everyone around him does, just like, because he just can't help himself. And that's why I love the show calling attention to that. Like, Harry would always seem like, okay, well, the code, we're going to find a way to make this work. We'll get you back to your life, where she's actively, not only does she not want to do this, but she's like calling him out. Like, she's like, you psychopath, you're selfish, like, you're smug. Like, I like that they're taking our main character that we're supposed to be rooting for and shining a light on all his actual bad qualities, because they should. At the end of the day, yeah, he's killing bad people, but it's like, he's still a serial killer that is very dangerous, that puts people in terrible spots,
Yeah, you could almost say that him keeping Harrison is like a selfish thing that he's doing, because he also Harrison doesn't have anyone to go to, but also I feel like Dexter really just wants to hold on to that guy, because he has no like actual family anymore, other than just Deb haunting his memories, possibly formulating a new family with Angela. But no, I loved, you mentioned Deb earlier, but I loved her usage in this episode. I liked her in last episode, and I really liked her in this episode, because whether it's her just like shit talking Dexter like throughout the episode, or like her actually getting like real in those moments when she's like yelling at him, and like you're saying at the
that wasn't
end,
even part of the show. Like, she's just pissed at him. They're just rolling the cameras.
Like, let's just keep rolling. This is working out.
Yeah, they're working through some stuff still.
Yeah, no, I loved her usage though, because it was, I feel like something for me watching Dexter, especially in the older, I don't know, Dexter V1, I guess I'll call it. It's so easy to like also kind of root for him, because he is your protagonist. He is the one that's carrying you through the episodes. But then you have Deb in here just being like, you're a piece of shit, you're murdering people. It's like, oh yeah, she's reminding me I can't be rooting for this guy. He's a bad guy. So I don't know. I just liked her comments, whether it's, like I said, shit talking or a little bit more serious. And I didn't think they were like too condensed, like all at once. Like, I thought they were spread out well enough. And Fuck, that one like dream-like sequence when she's like banging on the window. That was so creepy.
Yeah. No, that was great. And I love that they keep using this bullet that killed Deborah as like a reminder to Dexter. Like she pulled it out of herself last week. She used it to knock on the window. It's like such a fun little just symbol of like literally this is what you did to me. And yeah, like you shouted out too. And that's why it's my nicknames of Deb's laughing. Because when he was like, he's looking for the source of the blood in the woods for Matt. And he's like, and just in the back, like, and like I love she's not even in focus for the first time you see her. She's out of focus to like the corner and she's just laughing out the top of his lungs at him. And she's like, oh, ever heard about a killer returning back to the scene of the crime and stuff? And he's just like, stop laughing. And she just like laughs more and more. And that's what I love as far as like this version of Deb is kind of like punishing him because she said like stick to your code, stick to your routine. I'm so proud of you. It's been 10 years. So it's like in his mind, this is what Deborah would be doing because he kind of made her promise, right? Because of your death, I'm not going to kill. He killed somebody. And she's just like, she's not going easy on him all. She's not, it's like you said, the good comparison, like Harry as the ghost was like a coach to him, where this is just like, she's kind of like a bully, but like a deserved bully. But I love that she's not like hearing him out because she just thinks he's wrong. Again, this is all Dexter's mind, right? So this is Dexter's brain telling him like how wrong he shouldn't have done this, and he's gonna do it again, and he doesn't want to because, yeah, sure, he might get away with this, and then maybe him and Harris want to live life, but that's gonna be the problem. Is we already saw it when they were like de-gutting the deer. He's again like the blood is like it's getting to him, and you can see him like he's gonna start craving another kill, and he's gonna start meeting somebody that fits the code, and then he's gonna like go off the wagon again. You know, like they're setting that up as far as you can't control it. You had 10 years of it, but now that you open the floodgates, game over, you know?
Absolutely.
Let's take our second ad break and then maybe we'll talk about Mr. Krabs, I guess. He's made his debut here, so we'll be right back. And we're back. So the great Clancy Brown, we kind of knew this, that he's playing Matt's dad, and so
why
I like
Mr. Krabs. I gotta ask this first.
Doesn't he do the voice of Mr. Krabs?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I
yeah.
He does.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. He's obviously many things, but yeah. So this stuff, I'm not disliking it all. It's just so far this is the most predictable stuff, and because it's predictable, it's not that it's boring to watch. It's just whenever I'm watching it, I always want to get back to Dexter, Harrison, or Angela and stuff like that, which is a good thing. But like last week when we met that hitchhiker, we're like, okay, all these girls are going missing. This hitchhiker is going to be next. What happens? She goes missing. And scenes that I think we could have just cut half of them. Like how many scenes? I actually really want to get Taylor's opinion. Taylor, you're staying at a hotel. And you come in the bathroom, you're nice, freshly showered and everything like that. And there is just like a full bottle of wine and chocolate covered strawberries. Are you diving into those bad boys?
Oh, I'm in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm in. I don't know who's waiting on the other side of that door for me that left them there. Like, this is just a great time.
But now, will you after this show now?
I mean, maybe just the strawberries.
Probably a rare chance. Come on. You can risk it.
Oh, my God. Well, there you go.
Biscuit.
But yeah,
how you first?
How you feeling?
I wouldn't have downed. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, she did down that. She was
I wouldn't
thirsty.
have downed the bottle like that. Yeah, she was thirsty.
Yeah, and not in like the fun sexual in the way of like, no, she needed a drink. She was parched. But how do you feel? Because like I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything for the listeners or for you too. That clearly Clancy Brown is the guy keeping her in this room, right?
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't get the idea Clancy Brown was.
Okay, so here I'll lay it out for you. One, that zoom in on the old guy in his eye, that's just Clancy Brown's face. But two, I
thought the same thing. I'm like, those are the most like recognizable eyes.
Yeah, and the kids, the gray curlies. But either way, so they have been searching for Matt all day, right? And when he gets there, he's like, what happened to search? Have you found Matt? And Angela tells the whole story. No. In the middle of that story, she says, I've been calling you all day. Why haven't you been answering me? And I would assume that wherever this location is where they're keeping these women, that he probably turns his cell phone off so he can't be tracked. And I think that's why she couldn't reach him. And that's why, because he seemed very scared or like fearful that his son was missing, right? He's like, even when he screws up, he calls me. So he feels like something bad has happened to his son. He, to me, would have been on that phone right away. So to me, I think that's why I won't even say 99. I'm 100% sure that he is that guy because the look, but also just that he was gone for a long time the day. What else was he doing? He wasn't just fucking napping. He was doing something to these poor girls, you know?
So you're dismissing though the fact that when she went to get the helicopter from the rich guy, he had the same tablet for viewing the girl in the hotel room
That's the
as he
trick.
did for
That's
the
how they're
front
trying to
gate.
get you. Yeah,
You
I know
think
what you
so?
mean. Oh, I know what you mean because yeah, the hotel has that like tablet camera, and when they went to the rich guy, he had that too. Unless though they're in cahoots because they're both well-off rich guys. Like it could be that. But I think no matter what, that's what Clancy Brown was doing. You're right. The rich guy could be involved in it as well. But I think Clancy Brown is like
I think it's just going a little too in depth. I think Clancy Brown is just he obviously they don't have a great relationship, him and the son. I don't know. I'm not sold on it.
Rewatch it. Go look at those eyes.
The only thing that like I'm not sold on it because the only thing they're both old men, so the eyes can definitely play both sides. But again, like I just feel like he doesn't have a great relationship with his son because his son's an asshole. So obviously this goes to show that dad cares more about business and industry than he does his own son, which hence he doesn't obviously answer his phone all the time, doesn't really pay attention to his son.
Good defense attorney Taylor could have been at some point in his life.
But
yeah, so Kirklin, you're on my bandwagon. Then you think Clancy Brown, he is our Taylor poses a good thing that the other guy could be because the other guy's super shady, and this is where they could be in cahoots because both times this episode, characters question them and they go, "Yeah, but look at all the great things I've done for this community. You should be helping me out." And they both pulled that card of like, "Oh, your shop's roof came down," and the other guy being like, "Oh, I give you fire trucks for charity and stuff like that." Like they both pull that card, so maybe they are in cahoots. But I think Clancy Brown is not to be trusted right now.
Yeah, they're both very sus. Even in the last episode, just the way Matt was talking about his dad, and it seemed like Matt was always getting like covered by his dad anytime he got into shit or something. And it's interesting because the town like reveres the dad for something. I don't know if they really talked about that, but no, I thought the exact same thing. As soon as they shot like the creepy hotel scene, it just goes this like dude's eyebrows, and I'm like, that's Clancy Brown. And I don't know. Part of me was a little put off because I'm like, wow, they're really just telling us who the villain is. It's not something we haven't seen before. Like I think
Trinity first episode, they're like, this is Trinity.
Exactly. Right, definitely. Even I was thinking Hannibal, they've done that with some killers too, where you the viewer knows who it is. So it's nothing out of the ordinary really, or any new to the genre of the show. But I think I was kind of surprised because I thought he was going to be a big mystery force. I thought he was mostly just going to be like really like sus on Dexter, and then like that was going to be like, I don't know, someone that Dexter has to deal with is this like the father of a guy that he killed that also has a lot of resources, so could like find out some things. And now, I mean, running off of the assumption that it is Clancy Brown in that scene, now he's like potentially a murderer or like kidnapping these girls.
Well, they got to make it so if Dexter kills him, we don't feel bad about, because if he was just a concerned dad, we couldn't do that. But now that he's a killer, oh yeah, that's fine. Kill away, Dexter. You're good to go.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. But I don't know. I like Clancy Brown as an actor. I'm excited to just see him, like I don't know, just conversing with Dexter and some of the other casts in the show. I don't know. I'm excited going forward, but I was a little surprised that we just got that reveal. Not like a full body reveal, but at least like a Batman reveal, or even better so than a Batman. Batman's just the mouth. This is like he just got his eyes, the reverse mask.
Well, according to Taylor, we didn't get that reveal yet, so who knows? Maybe he's not. Maybe just like Harrison, we'll have that way again, where Clancy Brown like dies first 10 minutes episode. Like, oh well, he's not the bad guy, but no. And I think they also twin
brother or something.
yeah. Oh, I'm his uncle. I'm looking for Matt. But I think the other thing that poses good too is when we talk about like if Clancy Brown and Matt had like a strained relationship, I think you're gonna get a lot of mirroring between Dexter and Matt. Or sorry, Clancy Brown. What is Clancy Brown's character's name? Mr. Caldwell, but whatever it is,
Kurt Caldwell.
Kurt. It's Kirk.
Kurt. Not
okay.
Kirk.
So yeah, not yet. That's his twin brother.
Oh
no. Yeah, Kurt and Kirk.
I'd be so upset if the main villain is named Kirk.
Kirk and Kurt. Dexter taking on two twin brothers. Here we go. But like, no, it's gonna with Kirk and Matt, and then Harrison and Dexter / Jim. You're gonna get a lot of good mirroring there of the father and son dynamics, right? And I think you're gonna get a lot of Kirk next week. Fuck, Kurt next
say my
week.
name.
Kurt next week, and he's gonna be talking about like his son being missing, how much he misses, how much he would do for his son. Because we even got that with Angela when we'll talk about it when they talking about how she adopted her daughter. And she's like, "Oh, I was gonna look, but like she abandoned her child, and like what piece of shit does that?" And Dexter's like, "Yeah, of course. Like, yeah, who would?"
So
do
you're
that?
thinking that you're gonna get a repeat of Dexter, like, well, I can't kill him. I need to learn his ways, how to be a good father. You think
No,
we're
no,
gonna get
no.
that again?
I just think next episode that we're gonna get a lot more of the search, and I think a lot of that search is gonna be Dexter, Kirk/Kurt talking, and I think it's just gonna be like just like not bonding, but things over that. So no, I hope it's not like I need to pal around with Clancy Brown to be a better father. Like if it's that, fuck no. But I think it's just they will have lots of moments that they are together where they can kind of bounce off each other, and then in that moment, maybe that's when Kurt will be like starting to question Dexter. Maybe he'll pick up on something where he's like, "This doesn't make sense," Maybe he'll start to smell something.
Well, it's interesting too. I got to keep reminding myself that like Dexter or Jim Lindsay has been living here for a while now. So it seems like any like new side character that gets introduced has like at least met Jim Lindsay at some point in time. Because
Kurt addressed him. He's like, "Oh, is this your boy?" Yeah, I was caught off guard. I was like, "Oh, really? Wow, okay."
And I think that's happened with every character that's been introduced so far. So it's just interesting that like he's already like an established character. So the people of the town already have I don't know, like a what's the word I'm looking for?
Rapport with him.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's not a newcomer. Like who's this sus guy? It's like, oh no, this is the chief's boyfriend. Like
who works at the hardware store.
Yeah, so it's an interesting dynamic, and I'm really enjoying it because, like I just mentioned, I just get caught off guard when they come in. They're like, "Oh, how's it going, Jim?" I'm like, "Oh, right."
Yeah,
he's already been living here for many moons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then before we met that, I like that we kind of got a nice flashback of again, he's I guess doing it for the right reasons, but already using Harrison where they find the buck and he has to clean up the crime scene. So he's like, "Oh, you go and tell people that we found things," but he really just needs Harrison to bugger off so he can like set like frame Matt for all this stuff. Which again, classic Dexter. But I liked all that, and I think also it kind of informs stuff that's going on with Angela because you could see like people that are also probably of her culture questioning her motives, just literally saying you're gonna have to pick a side once of like the people you were raised with pretty much, or pretty much these rich white assholes is what I think they're trying to show, right? As like I'm imagining that oil guy is not doing great things to their land and stuff like that. So
Definitely not.
I like that shows where it puts her in an awkward position in this like community as far as she's trying to do the right thing both ways, but obviously she's gonna get some pushback.
What if she's part of the like the whole organization? Like she's the one who's sending these girls to these hotel rooms,
No, because how they're gonna tie it is who do you guys
it's her eyebrows.
Who do you guys think Trish is? Because we got introduced to that character that Trish went missing at someone in Angela's life. I thought it was a little sister.
Trish, I can't even remember this now. When did they say
So
this?
at one moment they're talking about missing people, and whoever the character was like, "Oh, better,
that's right,
Trish." And then her daughter later on is like, "You got to stop treating me like Trish. I'm not her." And then she walks away. I think she was a little sister that went missing, and that has set her. Because at first I thought they were gonna say that was the whatever. What's Angela's daughter's name? Oh,
Audrey.
I thought at first they were going to say that was her sister and that was the mother of the child, but no, they went different around that. But I think Trish is going to be someone related to her, and that may even be related to this crime thing. So no, I don't think she's secretly some bad antagonist. And I don't know if I would want that too. Of like, oh, you thought you were the big bad Jim Lindsay. I knew everything about you. I don't want that. Please no.
Yeah, I don't want that.
But Taylor, any theories on who Trish could be?
All we've learned is that Audrey is an adopted daughter. Maybe Trish was a biological daughter and was older than Audrey, and maybe she adopted Audrey as well. Maybe something happened to Trish, and that's why she's super protective of Audrey, and Audrey's just super opposite spectrum of that kind of thing. So I think it's not related to. Well, I shouldn't say that. It very well could be. Maybe she was one of these indigenous women that was taken away, because we learned that Audrey's wearing that shirt, that missing murdered indigenous women shirt, and perhaps maybe that's what happened to Trish. Maybe the serial killer got her, for all we know. I do think that it is a relative though to Audrey, and Was Angela? Angela, yes.
Angela, yeah.
So,
Who are you, Taylor?
yeah, I'll say it again.
What about you, Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're just listening, I kind of forgot that they even mentioned her. I liked how much that cut deep to Angela. So obviously, it's someone that was really important to her, which I can't imagine had a happy ending if she reacted that way. And yeah, I'm excited to find out what the fate of that character was. I feel like she's perished since, and I also feel like maybe someone in the town, whether it's Kurt or the other billionaire guy, had something to do with something there. Because fuck, that billionaire guy was so creepy to her when she was. Would she even go up there to ask? Like, can we just borrow your
your
chopper?
helicopter?
Helicopter.
And
Yeah.
then it's like, who
He
was
liked
that? Your
his
daughter?
daughter.
Eh?
Yeah.
So creepy.
That's a serial killer.
Taylor's fully on that bandwagon.
That's the non-identical twin.
Yeah, that's Kirk.
That's Kirk.
Kirk billionaire. That's his name. And then I thought one more question.
I'll quickly shout out something with Deb. I forgot to mention earlier. It's when she's just like constantly harassing Dexter, and he's like sitting in his truck alone, and he's just like absolutely losing his shit. And then it just goes to like just him, and then there's like that little girl or something that's like waving at him. Just a really funny moment. Yeah, that's right. That moment got me really good. And then the other one was with the great outdoorsman Fred Jr.
Yes, I was gonna shut that out.
Finds the glove and he comes over there, and like Dexter's just praising what a phenomenal outdoorsman he is. Like
Fred.
humor, it just got me. Again, that's that classic Dexter like deadpanish humor that just worked so well in the previous.
Yeah, because the cop is like, "Oh, that could not be his gloves," and Fred's like, "Oh, he was wearing those exact same gloves," and he's like,
"He was
exactly, Fred. He was." And Dexter's just like praising him, like he's so thrilled that Fred's showing up and like is helping his like cause and like his narrative and everything. Really fun. So I hope Fred doesn't bite it.
No, I think he's innocent and enough that he won't die. But
no, I just worry like if he might be one of those characters that like gets like caught in the crossfire or something like that, or like someone gets interrogating
Hopefully
him.
not.
Like
I'd be sad because they like set him up to be just this really innocent guy. You know, he's just taking up after his father for that shop. He has like his husband who they're just getting a puppy now. It's just like, God, I don't want him to die.
But this is Dexter. People like that die all the time, right?
Absolutely.
So it's just like,
yeah, Rita was innocent.
Very, yeah. We haven't talked about her yet. But
what did you guys think when Deb was shoving that bullet down Dexter's mouth?
I felt, man, what a strange scene to get them to act out.
It's not CGI. That actually happened.
Yeah, like obviously it's just like you think about the baggage they had. But again, like you take the real world stuff out of it. I love it. I love that this is like we have a ghost for the first time that's like physically really like actually pushing Dexter around and doing something. Obviously he snaps out of it. And that's right. So I want to ask you guys both, because in the old show, it would just seem like, okay, Dexter would look at something, right? Let's say it's a shoe. He looks at the shoe and then he talks with Harry and then he snaps out of it and he's back to the shoe. And they would show, okay, that's just in his mind. With that moment of him sitting in the car, I said to Emily, I said, oh, this is the first time they're ever acknowledging that he's actually physically talking to people. But then Emily said, well, no, he could just be sitting there. And the girl said peace to him. So that's where it's difficult for me, because I thought the girl saw him yell in the car and freak out, and that might come back later. But we did see that moment of Deborah trying to shove that bolt down his face, that he was all contorted and then he snapped out of it and he was just like standing in the room. So do you guys think that girl actually saw him yelling, or was he just sitting there in the car?
I think he was yelling.
I think he was yelling as well.
She was smoking a joint, so she probably wasn't super observant as to what she was witnessing.
Because I just feel like if he did yell, she's going to be like, yeah, and I saw your dad's boy or your mom's boyfriend like freaking out of his truck, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my main reason for thinking that is just he was like out of breath, like in that moment, like I feel like that's
jogging again.
He wouldn't be as strained if he was just an internal shouting war that he had with Deb. But.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. Because I just wonder
I've been wrong before.
But I was just wondering if that's a real thing. If Harrison or Angela's ever going to walk in on him like having a yelling match with Deb, then, you know, because if it's all in his mind, that's not a problem. If it's all in his mind, then it's like, well, he can have whatever yelling match and he's just imagining that. But if he's physically talking to these people, then eventually someone's gonna catch him. Like fucking, how creepy is that? At 2 a.m., Angela just sees this guy in his like house, just like yelling at
bullets
something,
in his mouth.
Yeah, like you're gonna pick up on something. So that's why I think it might actually be that she didn't see him and he just is in his mind. But we'll see. I think we'll get that answer, because I just feel like if she did see him, that would come up, because it's a weird thing to see. Like if I saw my friend's mom's boyfriend like that happening, I would mention that fucking shit. I'd be like, I saw something really weird, and at least give your mom's a head up, or at least because that is like, that's just weird. He's just yelling in his car for this guy who works at the hardware store.
Hal used to do that all the time in Malcolm in the Middle. Some people just need a shout.
Oh, Hal. For some reason, I thought you said Kyle. I'm like, did you one day just walk in, Kyle just yelling in his car parked?
That I can't be the only one. I'm gonna pull up an image here. Well, as soon as I'm going back to that scene with Deb doing like the bullet thing to Dexter in the kitchen, it just immediately made me think of this photo.
What the fuck?
No,
is that easily acceptable?
Luckily, I did not think of that photo. And is that a porn star face on a predator?
I don't know. I have no idea. It has to be.
It's not a regular photo that you take with your friends.
What did you guys think about? Which I thought was like, I will say like a little weird. Like, so Harrison goes on a hike with Audrey, and like that she meets her friends and they're getting high and partying and stuff like that. But I feel like Angela was like, "Oh yeah, you really got me with my daughter. You should hang out with my daughter." Like it wasn't this, but it was really like, "Hey, you two should start fucking," And it was just like, why are we being so forceful? And it's funny because so far the show's been a really slow pace. This Harrison connecting with the daughter, this moved at fucking warp speed, and I get it because we only got 8 more episodes left, so it's not a big con for me, but it was, as far as like the weakest part of the show. I didn't mind like him with the kids and everything like that, and I absolutely loved that they're setting up, no, he's not fucked up, because I love Dexter's like quietly trying to ask him questions like, oh yeah, like high school sucks, right? And he's like, I was fine in high school. He's like, oh, like how, like, do you like animals? Like he's basically trying to ask Harrison like, hey, have you ever experimented and killed on some animals like I have? Like he's asking him all these questions subtly just to try to, and Debbie calls him out like, yeah, he's an awkward fuck like you. He's a normal kid, and you're gonna be the one that fucks him up. But I love that he was slowly starting to pick away. Like he's asking just those little things of, hey, do you have any tendencies in his mind that he's asking? Because like I said, the animals obviously is the big thing. But yeah, the stuff with the kids was fine, and I like that he broke the lock, and they're digging through his stuff, they're busting his his ass because he can draw, I guess, which whatever, I don't know. So I liked all the stuff other than it moved at warp speed to me, that connection of like, oh, I really like her all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be boning. Come on now, this is gonna be
small town vibes. The main girl in the small town sees a new outsider coming in.
That's the title of an X video.
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
Yeah. What you just laid out there, Taylor, that's like the most popular genre right now, is stepbrother, stepsister meet in small town. Like that, like stepbrother.
That's what they're going to become. They're going to be step siblings. So,
well, yeah,
one of them's going to get stuck somewhere, need some help.
And then they're going to have a kid, and it's going to be both Angela and Dexter's grandchild. And it's going to be really fucked up. I feel like he's
going to be a serial killer. It's going to be a sideshow that comes out a couple years down the line.
Yeah.
Then he meets Grandpa Dexter. Oh, there you go. We're right in the pilot episode right now.
So he lives. That's good to know.
It'll be one of those where you think it's like pretty much his head gets
boat.
chopped off, and there's like an end credit scene that he's like just chopping wood somewhere. He's got like stitches on his neck, like fucking Frankenstein or something. This guy can't get by. Anything else you guys wanted to show?
No, you guys got any thoughts on Harrison's ventures or nah?
Well, so just getting back to the Harrison like going to get Angela scene when Dexter just like, I don't know, cleans up the crime scene, and like his excuse there is such bullshit. He's like, yeah, you go there, I'm just gonna make sure no one fucks with this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile he goes to fucks with this. I don't know,
and when they come back,
like
there's people all over the crime scene, so they would have been like, Jim, why didn't you tell them to not do that?
No, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And like Harrison doesn't say anything about it. It's like, didn't you say you were gonna like stop people from doing this?
Yeah. No,
I don't know. I was mentioning earlier possible like Angela being the downfall of Dexter. I'm honestly I'm thinking maybe it's going to be Harrison, actually, especially since Dexter was doing that little mini interview with him to just see if he has any serial killer tendencies. I think Harrison is actually going to just be good, like good
I do too.
character, and then he will find something. I even thought. Now, I'm not surprised that they didn't show it in this episode if this actually is the case, but I thought maybe there was even going to be a moment where Harrison like looks back to like sees his dad just like instantly like going to like muffle around
Yelling
the
at
snow
Deb.
or something. Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Harrison's like, hey, it's been great, but I'm fucking out. See ya. I'm gonna go crash at Angela's place.
I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna get to that point because then also it could be a really, really emotional ending if it's like his son is the one that's like, Dad, stop this. You don't have to do this anymore, or something like that. I do, and then he just stabs Harrison or something. Who knows? Well, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but
getting a little blood slide of Harrison. Yeah. This will look great on my mantle.
Yeah.
Where'd your son go, Jim? I don't know. He was just here for a little bit.
I caught him sleeping with his stepsister. Had to put an end to
that. Yeah. Him and his sister were trying to make a grandchild. I couldn't have that.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like the more they build up to like their relationship of Harrison and Dexter, I think it's going to be a point where it's like, this is so awesome. They're so happy together. And then, and then it's going to take a turn and it's going to be really sad.
I think like it's tough. I don't know because they're in an interesting spot because they can't do at least I don't think they can do the him walking him on and killing somebody because that's how they did it with Deborah. So I feel like Harrison has to find like another way of finding out. And that's why maybe it's going to come back to Matt with Matt's body being there. Like if Dexter never gets to move it, like, or maybe he just finds him moving the body. He's like, what the fuck? But like, who knows? We'll see. Because I don't know if Dexter, it's going to be interesting to see if he's ever going to fully explain to him why he was gone. But right now he's just like his excuse as well. Your mom died and Deborah died and I was just in a dark place and that's it. And Harrison's like, oh, okay. Like, I'm just happy you're accepting me now, you know? So feels like there's definitely more. But again, once they start talking about his mom, you know, things like that. So
yeah.
Taylor, anything to add?
Oh gosh, it's just going to be very interesting to see how this is going to unfold. I definitely, in retrospect to the Harrison adventures, I didn't mind the kind of stuff and development that he had. I thought it was cool to see him kind of branch out on his own and to flesh out more that he is a good character. He's not like his dad, even though he literally had the exact same upbringing where minus the dad part, but yeah, origin story, that's the term. Yes, same origin story. So I was very curious when he was sitting down in that little building and the kid was like, oh, what happened to your real mom? You said your stepmom died. So he acted like he knew, he just avoided answering it. And I'm very curious if Hannah told him or what that origin story is going to involve. But I imagine, like you said, Travis, we'll get the Trinity Killer kind of attached to that kind of thing. So
100%. Imagine if Harrison in that scene though just came back with a fucking knife and just murdered all those kids and just like, oh yeah, I found Matt. He like killed all these kids. I chased them, but he didn't. I'm so glad nothing like that's happening. Like
He's like, I do kill animals. His line,
yeah. The Vincent Van Gogh's going next episode, you know.
Fuck your goats.
Yeah.
That was another humor moment that really got me. When he's like, what do you call the black one? I don't know. I've just been calling him goat.
Yeah. And I love that, like, in this terrible moment of Dexter trying to be a dad, you want to name him? Like, you can name it. It's just like this is going to make up for the past 10 years of not being around. Like, and he's like, Harrison, this is Vincent Van Gogh the second. And it's just like, you're a fucking loser, man. Like, this is the best you got. And like, even the opening scene is like, oh, I haven't seen him so long. What's the first thing I should be saying to my kid? You got big. And it's like, I love how like he's just not a human. He's very much like Taylor in those aspects of like sometimes not a human at all. Seems like an alien, you know, lizard brain. So well, we've done it. That is Dexter New Blood episode 2, Storm of Fuck. We'll be back next week. I can't wait. I've seen the preview. There's a CGI bear, which I hope we're done using animals in the future. I don't need any more animals in this show, but it looks like we're going to get some sort of scene with CGI bear. So that's great. I hope Dexter fucking fights him. Like that's the big bad, actually. Just
full on Revenant scene.
Fuck, remember that? Yeah. That episode in Riverdale. I don't know if you're still watching the show at that time.
No.
Archie like fights off a grizzly bear.
Does he? I want that. And I want this bear to talk though. And to have Deb's voice.
Yes, like, please.
Yeah, that's Dev's incarnation. Everyone's just like, man, this show was better when it ended up him as a lumberjack. Can you imagine if the finale of the show is Dexter v. Deborah the bear and she's like possessed? Oh man, that'd be great. But yeah, we'll be back next week. It's crazy to think, but only 8 episodes left. I think we're gonna have a nice slow burn for the next few episodes, but I think we're gonna get some really juicy places. And yeah, I can't wait to get the juice filled up. So thank you, gentlemen, for always being a part of this episode. And we'll be back next week. And I promise you, it'll not be boring.
Ciao.
Goodbye.